Hello, and I want to thank you for joining me in this presentation that I've entitled The Role of Immunity. I'll tell you what, we're going to talk about your immune system. And in this current time that we're going through with this pandemic, probably more people than ever before have been or have been hearing about and are aware now of their immune system. And I'm here to tell you that this is where it all starts, this is where it all ends. Because regardless of what the named virus or bacteria or whatever the cause of whatever current pandemic you're going through is, the bottom line, it has always been and always will be the role that your immunity plays in whether or not you are victorious over that culprit or not. So what we've got to do is it's not going to be based on any kind of vaccine that they're going to attempt to make. It's going to be the innate wisdom of your body, the body that you now live in, that's going to give you the victory over any and every disease that you encounter. That's the way it's been throughout all of civilization. That's the way it's going to be. It's going to continue until the world as we know it currently ends. And it's not ever going to be based upon a shot that you're going to be injected with. So it behooves us now to understand and to know more about our immune system and the role it has, okay? So that's my purpose here in sharing this information with you. And I want to thank you as we get into it for allowing me to do so right now. So without any further ado, I am going to sidestep here and we're going to start to move forward here um, to learn more about the immunity. So again, I want to welcome you. All right, so we get into it then. What is the immune system? A very good question, and I'm glad you asked it. There are different parts of the immune system, and I want to break it down so that we can understand what's going on here and have a greater appreciation of it indeed. So the main parts of your immune system are going to be your white blood cells. You probably are familiar with that. The antibodies, which is a word that you're hearing a lot now. The complement system that I'm going to talk about, the lymphatic system that I have done a webinar previously about. And if you haven't seen it, I would suggest that you do take some time to watch it because the lymphatic system is one of the most important systems in the body regarding your ability to enjoy the best performance of your life and in order to enjoy a healthy life ahead of you. Also, there's the spleen, there's bone marrow, and the thymus gland as well. So that's basically just a breakdown, if you will, of what your immune system consists of. So now I want to share with you that it is your silent defender. Many times it's engaged in fighting bacteria and viruses and all the boogers that come against you, and you're not even aware of it. And by that I mean you're asymptomatic. Right now, there are people who have contracted the COVID-19 virus and they have no symptoms whatsoever. They're not even aware that they have it. There's no fevers, there's no chills, there's no achiness, no coughing, no nothing. And that's been true with some of you throughout your life. You've been challenged with different bacteria and viruses, funguses, poisons, parasites, all kinds of ugly little nasty things, and you weren't even aware of it. And at the time, your immune system was engaged in fighting it. You know, you can hear and you can feel the beating of your heart, so you really know it's working. But the immune system, as I said, is basically silent for the most part. And even though we're much less aware of our immune system, I've got to tell you that it is at work 24 hours a day, every moment of every day of your life. And it's protecting you and me from thousands, and I mean it, literally thousands of potentially deadly attacks on you and I each and every day. So what I want to do right now that you have a greater respect, I hope, for your immune system and how much it's engaged and how hard it works for you, let's look at a little bit different lines of defense that are used by your immune system to defend us. And we'll talk now about the first line of defense. Now, the first line of defense is known as your innate immunity. That's a range of protective mechanisms we're all born with. We're inherently gifted. We're blessed with that. Each and every one. This innate immune system provides really non-specific protection against various pathogens like viruses and bacteria and fungi and the protozoans and the worms and all the bugs, you know, those icky little things you see under the microscope. And that's what it does all the time, 24 hours a day, every day, without ceasing. And there's a number of defense mechanisms. And what they do is they serve the innate immune system, which includes physical barriers, like your skin. That's part of your immune system. Chemical barriers like antimicrobial proteins that your body makes that harm or destroy the invaders. And there's also cells in your body that attack the foreign cells and body cells that are harboring infectious agents as well. We'll talk about those a little bit more. And then before we move on, or before we move into the second line of defense, I want to delve a little deeper into the defense mechanisms of your innate immunity, okay? So I said that there are protective barriers here. And the first and the foremost, which is actually the largest organ of your body, that's the skin. It's an external barrier, and it's made from layers of cells, literally hundreds of thousands of millions of cells, and they serve as protective barriers to infection. And not only does your skin provide a protective barrier to keep the invaders out, it also secretes fatty acids and enzymes that will kill the ones or help to kill the ones that have gotten in. And the fatty acid, which is one of which is oleic acid, it can kill certain bacteria, while the enzyme lysozyme can break down the outer wall of a certain bacteria. Now, internally, there's the mucous membrane linings of like your respiratory system, your that's your lungs and your trachea, your mouth, the gastrointestinal, your stomach, your small, large intestine, the esophagus, the genital urinary tracts, that's your bladder, your kidneys, your bowels, all these things. They provide a protective barrier of cells that are constantly being renewed. I mean, faster than you can blink an eye or snap your finger. There is an exchange of old cells with new cells, and it's constant, in a constant turnover. And those membrane traps that I talked about there, what they do is they trap the small particles and they prevent them from attacking or attaching to your cells. And they're constantly engaged. It is amazing. Now, before I get on any further, as I'm talking about the skin, I do want to say one thing here. You know, from time to time, if you want to use those antimicrobial salves and whatnot, those from the dispensers, be my guest. But look, seriously, don't get into a pattern where you do it habitually. That stuff breaks down your skin. And when it breaks down your skin, you're breaking down the first line of defense to your body. And what you thought was a benefit to you is now it's not, and it's not an asset at all. And now that bacteria and those viruses and whatnot, they have an inward road to your body because that skin has been broken down by the use of that. Okay, so I said that, and now having said that, we're going to go on to the cell level responses. There's another crucial aspect of your innate immunity, and those, as I mentioned earlier, are the chemical barriers to infection. Now, when the microbes penetrate your body's protective barriers and they enter the internal tissues, they're going to encounter a variety of chemical substances that attempt to prevent their growth. And those chemical substances are actually produced by your body, unbeknownst to you and without even you getting involved in it or under your direction. That's the innate wisdom of the body that's been fearfully and wonderfully made. Now, there are many, many mechanisms in cells by which the chemicals work to harm or destroy these invaders. And these processes that are made by your body, they go beyond the scope of what we can discuss here. So I just want you to know that, because it's like I said, it's fearfully and wonderfully, and to understand that would take literally, um, gosh, a lifetime, frankly, because I've been in practice for many years. I consider myself a professional student, if you will, of the body, and uh, I'm always amazed at how much I didn't know when I learn something else about the body. It just goes on and on and on. So as I said, these processes really go beyond the scope of this particular webinar, but I just want you to know that they're continually on the lookout for foreign invaders, and they're ready to strike in a moment's notice, and they're working for you every moment of every day, of your entire life. All right. So having said that, let's move on now to these early induced responses. Now, early induced responses, they're really the final process of your innate immunity that I'm gonna discuss with you today. And I know that many of you are probably familiar with this response, but you may have only heard of the dangers it can pose. And one of the dangers is called inflammation. Inflammation, I'm not talking about a sprained or strained ankle or a sore shoulder or something. We're talking about this inflammation that can eliminate infection or hold it in check until specific acquired immune responses have time to develop. That's your autoimmune system that's now coming to fruition. It's awakened, and it's developing these antibodies. Anyway, this inflammation, what it does eliminate the infection, and when it eliminates it, it holds it in check. And infection often results in tissue damage. It may trigger an inflammatory response. And the signs of inflammation now, they include pain and swelling and redness and fever, which are induced by chemicals released by what are called macrophages. Inflammation is really a healthy, protective immune response. That's what you want. That's what the body's going to do. However, when chronic inflammation, and that is when it lasts for a long, long time, and by a long time, I would say, over 72 to 96 hours, when that exists in the body, then I'm telling you that chronic disease can and many times does develop. Okay, so that's the early induced response. Now we're going to talk about the second line of defense. Now, the second line of defense is called acquired immunity. Listen, it's called acquired immunity, and that's what you want. That's how your body is going to get ready for things that are going to happen or could happen down the road. Acquired is named as such because you're not born with this form of immunity. It's acquired. See, it's developed through your exposure to different pathogens. That's what we want to do with this virus. That's what we do with all viruses. We become exposed to it. The body then fights the battle initially, and then it acquires an army. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. It develops an army. And due to the exposure to the infection or the disease, or even due to another person's antibodies. So the other person is walking around, they've been there and done that, if you will, they've got their antibodies, and then you and I can develop, our bodies will react and develop antibodies as a result. Now, what they're doing now with many of these people, they're trying to get people exposed and develop the antibodies, and then they're actually trying to draw the blood from these people and then use it to infect or to introduce it into other people, and then their bodies will develop an antibody as well. Now look, that's the idea behind the vaccination. What they want to do, it's so ludicrous, see, because the body does that without being engaged by a vaccine. Your body will do it. So what you want to do, the bottom line is, you want to be exposed to the virus. You want your body to react to the virus. You want your body to develop the army. and then it has the army, and the army is there. It's just like any other army. It's going to go and remain on call. So, you know, we have an army right now. We're not in war, but we still have an army, right? So if we go to war, if an enemy attacks us, then our army is called forth, and then it goes to battle. Well, that's what the immune system is going to do. So when you're subjected to this COVID-19 or whatever virus it is, it's going to develop an army. It's going to fight and defeat the enemy, and then the army is going to rest. It's going to be on call. So 8 months, 10 months, 5 years later, if you ever encounter a virus like that again, boom, that army is going to awaken and it's going to come to your aid. That's what you want to do. That's your second line of defense. So now we want to talk about that acquired immunity. It's really well established that persons who contract certain diseases and they survive, they generally don't get those illnesses again. You got that? They contract the disease, they survive because their body has overcome it, they've developed an immunity, and they don't catch those illnesses again. It doesn't mean that they're never ever exposed to those illnesses, but it does mean this. Let's use some common sense, folks. When we are exposed again, we don't succumb to it because we've got this acquired immunity. Because this is made possible through the mechanisms of your acquired immunity. And when your immune system is exposed to a pathogen, a virus, a bacteria, whatever it is, it learns to recognize it and can make your immune system better equipped to fight off that type of germ the next time you're exposed. Your body's been fearfully, wonderfully made. We're the ones that have dumbed it down and said, no, it needs a vaccination. You need to have this drug. You need to have it's. Anyway, this acquired immunity is dependent on the specialized white blood cells that are known as lymphocytes. And lymphocytes are the cells responsible for the body's ability to distinguish and to react to almost any infinite number of different foreign substances. That's how amazing these lymphocytes are. So the lymphocytes then, they originate from stem cells in the bone marrow. You remember, you have people that have leukemias and their blood isn't able to do that, and then they extract some bone marrow and then they introduce it into that individual so that they can start to get healthier. Well, your lymphocytes in your body, they come from those stem cells that come from your bone marrow, and they travel and they multiply in response to whatever situation they encounter. They are just ready in a moment, in an instant. Now, some of you may have heard of the term T cells or B cells, and what that means is we're referring to different types of lymphocytes, both the T as in tango and the B as in Bravo cells. They recognize and they help eliminate foreign molecules, but they really do so in different fashions, okay? So now we'll talk about those receptor molecules. The lymphocytes are distinguished from other cells by their capacity to recognize foreign molecules, the stuff that comes in through your nose, through your mouth, or absorbed through your skin, however it gets there. And they do so by means of receptor molecules, like little antennas that are out there. And as soon as that antenna is hit, you know, boop, 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 they send out a message and your body's ready. Now the receptor molecule, it's really a special protein whose shape is designed to fit and to identify foreign molecules. That's what it does. So think of these molecules as a key that fits into a lock. Now any foreign material that binds specifically to a receptor molecule is called an antigen. So these viruses, these bacteria, these foreign bodies that come into you, they're not of you, they're from the outside coming in, they're called antigens. Antigens now include molecules found on invading microorganisms, such as, like I said, the viruses, the bacteria, the protozoans, the fungi, as well as molecules that are located on the surface of foreign substances, like on pollen or dust or even a transplanted tissue. You know, sometimes people get they get a heart transplant, and that's actually, those are foreign molecules in that person's body. Or they get a kidney transplant, or they get a skin transplant, whatever it might be, and they've got to wait to see if the person's body is going to destroy this new organ or if it's going to accept it. See? So that's how it works. Now, there's certain antigens that can induce an immune response when they bind to a receptor molecule. Okay? You got that. So now what happens is there's a process that I call record keeping. One of the many incredible abilities of the immune system is that it keeps a record. Can you believe that? It keeps a record of absolutely every microbe that it has ever defeated. So from the time you were 3 days old and you were exposed to a microbe up until this present time, every single microbe that your body has been subjected to or exposed to, your immune system keeps a record of it. Isn't that amazing? And it's defeated them all, because had it not done that, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation right now, or you wouldn't be there hearing what I have to say, because mine has, as so has yours. And this enables the immune system to recognize and destroy the microbe quickly, absolutely quickly, instantly, if it enters the body again, before it can multiply, before that invader can multiply and make you feel sick. So as soon as it shows up, boom, your body gets it and destroys it, and that's it. However, some infections, like the flu or the common cold, have to be fought many times, because there's so many different viruses, or strains of the same type of virus, that can cause these illnesses and the same symptoms. So therefore, catching a cold or a flu from one virus doesn't give you immunity against the others. But what it does do is it gives you an arsenal and an army, like I said before, that is awakened immediately. All right. So they're saying now that this COVID is going to return in the fall, and it's going to be more wicked than it was initially, and all that good fear-mongering garbage that they're out there selling. So here's the good news, okay? All right, so you get the virus now, your body's made the army. So now this COVID shows up. It's no longer COVID-19, it's going to be COVID-20, because it's going to come in the year of 2020. So now it's the COVID-20. It's meaner, it's badder, it's bigger. Ooh, look out. But when you get it, or when it attempts to attack you, you're going to get maybe a fever. You might get a cough, you might sneeze, you might snort a few days, and you're going to feel like ugh, for a few days. But during that time, your body, it has recalled the army. The army is now battling, and the army says, hey, instead of using shotguns this time, we got to pull out M16s. We got to pull out bigger guns, we'll say, okay? So it pulls out bigger guns. It destroys this virus once again, and you get over that 3 or 4 day sickness, and boom, you're on your way again. And now your army has changed. As good as the army was back in 2019, it's going to be even stronger after having defeated the COVID 2020, okay? And it's going to keep a record. It's going to keep a record of that microbiome, so that you're going to have it. And the next time, God forbid, but the next time there's a virus or a bacteria, it's going to be ready. And your immune system is triggered by a really small amount of an illness to produce its antibodies. So you don't have to get deathly sick. Just a little tiny bit of exposure, boom, your body's going to go to work. Why? Because it's fearfully and wonderfully made, and it's been made to stay well. That's why. So this enables the body to quickly launch an immune attack to kill off any virus down the road, anytime there's any future exposure to it. So how we acquire immunity. Now, what we are exposed to dictates our acquired immunity. So the more you're exposed to something or various things, the stronger your immunity or the bigger your acquired immunity is going to be. For example, where we live and our exposure. If you know, it's been said that kids that grow up on farms are much healthier than kids that grow up in the city. Why? Well, the kids on the farms are playing in the dirt. They are exposed to cow manure and chicken dung and dead animals, and you know the diseases and the bacteria that the animals have. They play outside more, so they're exposed to all kind of junk in the air. So their body has a huger, much bigger library. Maybe that's a way to look at it or think about it, of all of these volumes of these things that their body's been exposed to. And they have developed and acquired immunity where the city slicker hasn't been exposed to all that, so that when they get out there, they're certainly not as strong. So, hey, have you ever experienced allergies when you're visiting someplace for the first time? You know, you start sneezing or coughing or whatever. Well, this is due to the exposure of something your system perhaps wasn't already familiar with. So next time you go to that same place, you won't have the same reaction that you had the first time, because why? Your body has now developed and acquired an immunity. This is why one reason why I suggest to my patients all over, regardless of where they come to us from, that one of the things they use to build up their particular immune system is going to the farmer's market and buying local, unfiltered, unprocessed bee honey. Yep. Eating, because what do the bees do? They go from plant to plant, and they have the pollen and all of the bacteria. They pick it up, and then they use that in order to manufacture their honey. So then you and I could go ahead and we can use that honey. We eat that honey, and then when we eat it, the body recognizes all those bugs that are in the honey, the bacteria, the funguses, the pollens, and everything else, and that helps to strengthen our immune system. We develop an even larger and more potent acquired immunity now to the area that we live in. All right. So we all have similar innate responses, like the skin barrier. The acquired immunity can be vastly different. And in fact, the studies that I've seen, it has shown us that our history and our environment, like where we live and whom we live with, they're responsible for actually over 60 to 80% of the differences between all of our individual immune systems. So, you know, you get out there and you get out where you live. You let your kids play in the dirt. You know, oh my gosh, we've become so sterile, you know, in our living. The dirt's a great place for a kid to play. Don't become paranoid about it. Get out there and play with the animals, and, you know, take them to zoos and let them pet the dogs and let them pet the cats and let them do all of these things so that their bodies can develop an acquired immunity. And the sooner we do it, the better life is going to be for each and every one of us. Okay? Okay. So that's how you do it. You get out and you live. That's why this recommendation by these uh, by these governors and all these other people to tell you to stay indoors, it's one of the worst things you can do. It really, you got to get out and you got to get exposed, because if you want to be strong in your environment, you got to get out in your environment. Okay? All right. So now we're going to move on. I want to talk to you about the fingerprinting as well, about that. And the fingerprinting, it's very, very specific, just like the fingerprints on the end of your fingers right now. That means that you've got to get out there, and your immune system is going to be specific to where you live, to who you've been exposed to the foods you've eaten, to the drugs you've taken, to the supplements you've taken, to the air you breathe, to the cosmetics that you put on, to the soaps that you use. You get my drift? It's going to be your environment. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be specific to the environment that you put yourself in. So the more rugged, I guess, is a good way to look at it. The more rugged your environment, the better equipped you're going to be, right? Right. So that's what you want to do. You don't want to stay out. You don't want to stay in. You want to get out. That's what you want to do. And the more you get out, man, the better off you're going to be. One of the things that I have a hard time with, well, it's one of the things, there's a lot of things I have a hard time with. But stopping all of these marathons and these races, I mean, those are some of the best fit the people that I granted, there's there are people in the back that walk and whatnot, but hey, God bless them. They're out there doing it. And to stop an event like that, it's illogical. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So anyway, all right, we'll move on. I had my moment there. So now we're going to talk about an overactive immune system. Now, an overactive immune system can result in a number of conditions, including allergies and also autoimmune diseases. There's allergic diseases, and they to foods. We have people that are allergic to certain foods and certain medications. You can't take, if you're allergic to, oh, gee whiz, what's a big one? I can't even think of it right now, but there are people who are allergic to nitroglycerins or whatever it might be, and stinging insects like bee stings and anaphylaxis and hay fever, sinus infections and asthma and hives and dermatitis and eczemas. All those conditions result when the immune system makes an overly strong response to the allergens. See, to those things that are trying to get in. And your body says, look, I'm not going to have any of it. And it just, boom. Boy, we've had patients that have come to us. This young lady here in this slide, I have one that comes to mind. She was absolutely, and I'm not being facetious, she was covered in those huge welt-like hives all over her body. And, thank God she came to us. We were able to help her. She has the most beautiful skin that any woman would want. It's just, that's how amazing the body is. But there's some other autoimmune diseases, and they include like multiple sclerosis, autoimmune thyroid disease, type 1 diabetes, systemic lupus erythematosus is one, rheumatoid arthritis is another. What's called systemic vasculitis, that's another. That's the immune system. It's mounting a response against the normal components of the body. And it's because the autoimmune system is to blame. It's in hyperdrive, see? And we've got to find out it's like somebody that's pushing on the doorbell, the buzzer, and they don't let up off of it. And the buzzer just continues to buzz. Well, there's something that's triggering that person's immune system, and the immune system just doesn't shut off. And that's what happens. So what we have to do is finding out what's keeping that immune system on. And when we find it and get rid of it, then the immune system just shuts off and relaxes, and the person returns to having and enjoying the best performance of their life. That's one extreme. In all of those conditions, can they be helped? Absolutely, positively. Just got to find out what the causative factor is. So just as we can have an overactive, we can also have an underactive. And an underactive immune system, it's also known as an immunodeficiency. That's when it doesn't function properly or correctly, and it makes the person very vulnerable to all kinds of infections. And actually, it can be life-threatening in severe cases. Now, an immunodeficiency can be inherited. It can include conditions such as what's called variable immunodeficiency, or CVID, CVID. That's C as in Charlie, V as in Victor, I as in indigo, and D as in Delta, CVID, or what's also, it's called X-linked severe combined immunodeficiency. That's SCID. as in Sierra, or S as in Sierra, C as in Charlie, I as in Indigo, D as in Delta. That's the SCID. And there's complement deficiencies also. Now, an immunodeficiency can also arise as a result of a medical treatment, right? Somebody goes to the doctor and they get certain drugs. They have surgical procedures with certain chemicals now that are put into their bodies. And it can happen from that, or it can be caused by another disease, such as HIV, AIDS, right? Or different types of cancers like leukemias, Hodgkin's disease, lymphomas, things of that nature. That's where the immune system has been severely traumatized, compromised, and now they are, you know, they are susceptible to all kinds of disorders because of that. All right. So those are underactive immune system disorders. So what can we do? Well, I'm glad you asked, because now that we have a more in-depth, I hope, understanding of the immune system and how it works to protect us, and as I said a few moments ago, a greater appreciation of it, we also now realize that by and large, it's our responsibility. It's not going to be dependent on a vaccine or an immunization or a drug or a pill or anything like that. We have to take a look now at ways you and I, can strengthen our immune system. The ability that you and I have to boost the immune function is very complex, and it really deserves another study. But this is due to the fact that the immune system is a system, and it does require balance, and it requires harmony amongst its parts. So there's an interconnectedness of the immune system, and as I said, it is very complex. Why? Because the body is fearfully and wonderfully made. So with that, I'm going to try to break it down, though. Don't get in a huff here. We do have the power, we have abilities, and responsibilities as well to take care of it. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the effects of our lifestyle that give our immune system, or can, I should say, give our immune system a boost. Okay, so we're going to talk about immune system boosting. Here's some tips. Okay, now your first line of defense is to live. Listen, the first line of defense is to live a healthy lifestyle. That's called being proactive. Absolutely, it's being proactive. Not only will your immune system benefit if you do this, but every part of your body will function better. It will, because the Bible teaches that if we affect one member, all the members are affected. And if we can boost our immune system, then I'm telling you, all the other systems that make up that glorious body that you live in are going to be benefited as well. So here's some tips that I would suggest you follow or incorporate so that you can enjoy the best performance of your life. Okay? First and foremost, you're going to say duh, but it's going to be a duh for some people. Don't smoke. Just don't smoke. Another one is to eat a diet. I hate that word diet, but eat foods that are really high in fruits and veggies. Okay, forget about that carbohydrate garbage right now. Okay, just eat foods, real foods I'm talking about, like fruits and veggies, vegetables. Oh my gosh, do I have? Yes, you do. You got to eat the veggies. You want to exercise, and you want to do so regularly. That doesn't mean you have to do it every day, but you got to do it regularly. You know, try to do it twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever. Just incorporate it into your way of living. And then you want to maintain a healthy weight. That's going to, hey, if you start exercising regularly, if you start eating real foods, right, whole foods, you're going to find that you're going to start to drop that weight. Don't eat that standard American diet, because that's basically junk sugars and the trans fatty acids and all the other garbage that comes with it. And if you need help with it, I'd invite you to go to our website, which is pro-activewellness.com, and scroll down there. I did some stuff on intermittent fasting. I did one on the paleo diet. That's a great place to start if you need help with the foods. Go to that and sit down and watch that for a while. You'll get some really good ideas off of that particular presentation. And if you drink alcohol, then you want to drink only in moderation. Okay. If you like wines, you may have heard me if you've been on other webinars that I've done. The red wines are the best, and the best of the red wines are going to be organic, and the best of the organic is going to be an organic Pinot Noir. That's what you want to do, because those red wine, they're high in resveratrol. Really good stuff for you. Okay. And they even have some antioxidants as well. But I don't want to get off into that tangent here. You want to make sure that you get adequate sleep. You want to take steps to avoid infection, like, washing your hands. I mean, I am so surprised at this revelation that's come upon society here. When they were told that they needed to wash their hands, I'm thinking, my gosh, man, people didn't know that. I mean, how were they brought up? They didn't know to wash their hands. I mean, and I'm not saying you have to do it like every 20 minutes. Don't be a germophobic. Germs are good because, look, there's going to be germs that are going to help you live healthier, and there's going to be germs that are going to stimulate your immune system, and that's what you want to do. You want to make it stronger. In order to do so, you got to have germs. And I'm going to stop for a moment and say this while I'm on that. Germs don't cause disease. They don't. I don't care how many letters you have after your name, what a brainiac you think you're reading, or you may think you are. Germs don't cause disease. If they did, you and I wouldn't be alive today, because the germs would have killed off the generations that have preceded us, and there'd be nobody alive today. It's really so simple. It's one of those dumb moments where you see on TV where they smack themselves with the palm of their hand on their forehead. Don't become that, really, really. But, do be hygienic. You wash your hands at least a couple, 3 times a day. If you're out playing in the dirt, when your child comes in, teach them how to wash his or her hands before they sit down at the dinner table. It's a good habit to have, and it will serve you well throughout all of life. But anyway, you want to wash your hands. And also another thing you want to do, you want to minimize the stress. So, if you're taking steps to be healthy, you're going to reduce a lot of stress, because, hey, now you're in control. You're not, oh my God, this unseen, this invisible enemy that we have that, oh my gosh, I'm so, ugh. The media, this is their moment. This is their hour. Hey, you want to be healthier too? Turn your TV off and turn the computer off. Don't go on there and read all this garbage that's coming, because it is garbage. Okay? Okay. So that's another thing you do. You turn off the box, because it's got nothing good for you. And your diet and your immune system, the diet will impact the immune system in a very positive way. It's been well established that people who are malnourished are more vulnerable to infectious diseases. I got to stop. I'm not going to pick on them, but I got to use them as an example. The elderly in these nursing homes, oh my God, that are dying. They don't eat. They don't eat. Did you know that they don't eat? I'm not saying that the people in the nursing homes are deliberately starving them. I'm saying that many of these elderly people don't want to eat. And when they do eat, they give them sugar. They give them those canned protein drinks. Those are garbage. Oh my gosh. So look, if they are malnourished, if the person is malnourished, they're weak. It's like expecting an emaciated 10-year-old kid to go into a gym and lift a 50-pound weight. It ain't going to happen. You understand? So the same thing happens with these diseases and these elderly. When are the people going to wake up and That's why there is no such thing as common sense. It's rare sense anymore. We just have lost it. We're not thinking. We just aren't thinking. And when if you look at these people that succumb to these diseases, whatever it is, not just this COVID, but all of these diseases, they had what are called comorbidities. They already had other diseases present. They have bought into the thing that it's a joyride to have type 2 diabetes. All they got to do is take these drugs and they're going to be taken care of. Or high blood pressure, just take the meds. Or heart disease, just take the meds. Or whatever it is, God forbid. Their body is already weak. You got to understand. And the people haven't done anything to change their body except add a drug to it. They haven't changed the way they've eaten. They haven't changed their activity levels. They haven't changed their hydration. They haven't done anything. And their body is still weak. And now it's just being supported by a drug. So now when another enemy comes and it jumps on the person, why, what do you think? Well, they're just going to collapse. So that's why you're seeing the overwhelming majority of the people that are dying of this virus are really old, really febrile, and or they're type 2 diabetics. You heard it first from me. When you see the stats coming out, which you will if you are a judicious student, you will see that one of the things in common is that these people, the younger ones were type 2 diabetics, as were many of the older ones. Okay? So, those the elderly, they just don't eat much and they don't have any variety in their diets, which is true of a lot of people that are younger too. They eat the same trash over and over and over again. There are micronutrient deficiencies. The junk that they eat is deficient in zinc. Now everybody's running after zinc. Or the diet is deficient in selenium and iron and copper and folic acid and the vitamin A's and the B's and the C's and the E's and the D's. And when it's deficient, when it's not in the food, it's not in the body. It's as simple as that. And if you don't have the fuel, if you don't have the components that are necessary to make your body strong, then it never gets strong. So look, if you suspect that your diet isn't providing you with all the nutrients you need, then you might consider watching those presentations or going to some experts and finding out, doing some research on your own. And look, if you need some help, then that's what we're here for. Let us know, because we can certainly direct you. We can point you in the right direction and help you out in that way. That's what we're about, helping individuals achieve. And once they achieve, to help them to maintain then from that moment on the best performance of their life. Okay. Now, I mentioned a few moments ago stress and your immune system. Well, hey, look, chronic stress. If you're watching the TV today, you are under chronic stress. All you're hearing is about how many more got it and how many more died. And then later on in the evening, there's even more that got it, and there's even more that died. And oh my gosh, and what are we going to do? And I got news for you. It's appointed that everybody's going to die. Got that? All of us are going to die. Should we, unless we're alive when the good Lord returns, we're all going to die. You're going to die by cancer. You're going to die by heart attack. You're going to die by pneumonia. You're going to die by eating some poisonous salmonella-drenched food. You're going to die by an auto accident. You're going to die by, some I don't know, entitled, crazed individual who's upset now because they're not getting what they want, who's going to walk into the place where you are, and they're going to take out their frustration on you by pointing their weapon and discharging that round of ammunition into your gut. Or, if you're blessed, you're going to die in your sleep, but you're going to die. That's the point. You understand? Everybody's going to die. So forget this stuff, Oh my gosh, we're killing ourselves even. by the poor choices we're making, by the busy schedules we're keeping, by the packed social calendars we have. We are demanding more and more of ourselves than any society in history. We got other stressors too, like, the financial burdens that we put ourselves in. Oh, we gotta have, we gotta have, we gotta have. And that anxiety, that worrying, oh my God, what am I gonna do? What kind of a I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose this, and I'm not popular, and I'm not. We got all kind of burdens that we throw on ourselves. They all contribute to chronic stress, and we stay there, day in, day out, day in, day out. And anyway, and when we experience the stress, there's hormones, because for every action, there's always an equal and opposite, whether you realize it or not. Those hormones are released in your body. And those hormones, when they stay there, they're only supposed to be there for a moment. I like the fight or flight. Make the decision, get it over with, it's done. You either leave what's causing the stress, or you fight and defeat what's causing the stress. But you don't stay there and stay there and stay there. That's what's happening. So those hormones that are released, they start to erode and damage and tear that body down. So when you're under constant stress, those hormones, they remain present throughout the day and throughout the night, and they just undo everything. You got it? The result of chronic stress leads to a never-ending list of diseases and illnesses that range from depression to heart attack to cancer. And during those times of stress, the immune system is going to be shut down. It's going to be inhibited. So regularly participating in a stress reducing activity is going to benefit your overall health and your general immunity as well. It's your call, because as I tell the patients that come to us, it's your body, it's your health, it's your decision. So whatever you choose is going to determine your final destination and the quality of the journey before you get there, which is your health, right? Hey, but we're here to help you in any way that we possibly can. So if you have questions, I hopefully have answers. Over the 38 plus years that I've been in professional practice, I've amassed some bit of intellect and some information. So if you want some help, feel free to contact our office. You can call us, you can email us, you can request a video chat with us, whatever. We want to help you to achieve the best performance of your life. So, since you've been so kind in sharing your valuable time with me, I'm offering you an opportunity to do that, to take some of my time at no cost, no obligation to you. You can do it. And in the meantime, you're welcome to visit our YouTube channel. It's Dr. Robert Bartosh. A lot of information there. You can come onto our Facebook page, which is the Proactive Wellness and Injury Center. I mean, whatever. Use it. It's out there for you. The smarter you are, the more responsible you become, and hopefully the more responsible you are, the better the quality of life not only you, but those that depend on you are going to live as well. Okay? So I just want to say thank you so very, very much for allowing me to share this information with you. And, until the next time, and as always, God bless.